Hey everybody, waitingfornextyear.com podcast. It is a solo podcast day after the Browns' preseason victory over the Giants. I don't even care what the final score was. The Browns were winning up to the point where Geno Smith replaced Eli Manning, and that, my friends, is all that really matters. It's funny that I could look at the first Browns preseason game where DeShone Kizer came in and led a game-winning scoring drive in the meaningless part of the game, and I count that as a win for the Browns. And then the Browns, they did win the game against the Giants, but even if they'd lost it in the end, in the fourth quarter, I still would have considered it a win. I'm a total homer hypocrite. That's kind of the baseline of what we're talking about here, but that's just kind of an aside. Let's talk about the game itself. First of all, I'm going to tell you one thing I'm not going to talk about, and that's the Cleveland Browns players kneeling. I think that is something that we will discuss at Waiting for Next Year. It's something I could discuss with a guest. I don't really want to tackle it as a solo thing, so I won't be talking about that this morning. I do want to talk about the Browns defense. I think that even before I get to the quarterbacks, which is all that anybody actually cares about, I think, right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game in the NFL. The defense might be the most important story, even though it's not going to be the most talked about story coming out of the second preseason game against the Giants. How many pieces showed up in that game for the Browns? Danny Shelton was sidelined with an injury, but you had Jason McCourty forcing a turnover, a really great individual play. You had a defense that just generally looked fast. Individually, Jamie Collins looked good. I don't remember there being a giant highlight for Chris Kirksey, but he looked like he was all over the place. Very, very good-looking play, kind of consistency, play after play after play. I thought Jabril Peppers looked fast and good on the defense. I thought Myles Garrett looked really good, and I'm not talking about the kind of meaningless sack that Geno Smith walked into, but it's a sack. It's a sack, and Myles Garrett had kind of 1.5 defenders to double teams on a lot of plays, which is good to see. That's part of the defense, is having your best guys get more players thrown at them, which clears the lane for guys like Joe Schobert. Joe Schobert had a sack, waltzed through a giant hole in the Giants' defense, but he only can do that if other guys are doing their job, staying in their lanes, drawing extra defenders, and putting pressure on the offensive line. The Browns did a very nice job stopping the run. I don't think the Giants are a very good running team, but how many times have we seen over the years a mediocre to bad running team look good or get their ground game going against the Cleveland Browns defense? That wasn't the case. At the point of attack, the Browns looked stout. The second wave of linebackers looked fast and active, getting to the ball. They were quick to the edges. I know this is a lot of generic stuff, but the point being, I think the Browns played really, really well. Breon Body Calhoun looked like he had another good game. Again, this is just my first viewing of the game. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to talk about that hit he put on Odell Beckham Jr., and I think that's just one of those unfortunate NFL hits. If you're a Giants fan, you hate that hit. If you're Odell Beckham Jr., you hate that hit. If you're a Browns fan or any other fan, you understand that hit. I don't necessarily love it. I don't want my guys taking other teams' knees out, but I also don't want them taking anybody's head out. I know that TJ Ward giving people concussions wasn't acceptable either. So at a certain point, you make a deal with yourself that you're going to watch football and you're going to allow for people to put themselves in positions where they might get injured. And that's just one of those cases where Breon Body Calhoun makes a hit on Odell Beckham Jr. It's not particularly a dirty hit, but in super duper slow-mo with one of the most talented athletes in the NFL, it's just kind of ugly. There's no winning on a play like that. Just like sometimes there's no winning in the NFL when good players get knocked out due to injury. All right, now, the real elephant in the room. This is going to be a short podcast, but the quarterbacks. Brock Osweiler started the game. I think it's safe to say he just looked bad. He looked inaccurate. He looked like he had happy feet. He didn't seem to get any kind of playmaking or chemistry going with that offense. The running game wasn't going. The screen game, he made a couple strong throws to the sidelines, but even then, he took what could have been a really nice pass and catch to Corey Coleman, and he raised the degree of difficulty for Coleman on the sideline to the point where his 10 or 11 yard out became a 9 yard out as Coleman stretched to make the catch and just eked his 2 feet in before going out of bounds. Now, maybe that's the only way that throw happens, but when you think about quarterback play and you're thinking about that next level of quarterback play, the Peyton Mannings, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers of the world consistently put that ball in a place where their player not only makes the catch, but makes a big play thereafter. Brock Osweiler is never going to have the ability to put his guys in a position to really, truly excel, or at least that's the way it feels. And he did nothing on Monday night to convince me otherwise. And that's really what it comes down to. DeShone Kizer comes in, and he didn't set the world on fire either, but looks like a guy who can make some plays. He looks like a guy who can get some chemistry. He's got a soft touch on the screen passes. His play fake to the outside and then to the screen pass was really good. Brock Osweiler is probably still some tiny amount better than DeShone Kizer, but it's only due to a time in the league. All the potential, obviously, DeShone Kizer's got all the potential. That's really what it comes down to. So now Hugh Jackson has to make a decision about quarterback. He's going to make a decision on Game 3, and whoever starts Game 3 really should start the beginning of the season. And now is he going to go with the really, really conservative pick, protect his rookie, and start Brock Osweiler, even though the writing is pretty much on the wall that Osweiler has absolutely no future rounds? Or is he going to just say, enough, and hit the button, bring in the rookie, and start designing a really specific game plan that his rookie can somehow try and succeed in executing against the Steelers in Week 1? I don't envy Hugh Jackson's choice. It's nobody's grabbed this job, and that's the worst possible scenario for a head coach, especially an offensive head coach. Nobody knows exactly what the right answer is because nobody has staked their claim. Nobody's planted their flag in the ground. But Hugh Jackson has to choose somebody. He's going to have to make a decision and stick to it, at least for a couple games, chances are that all of these guys are going to play throughout the season anyway, but it's a decision that has to be made. It's something that he's got to put his name down on record. He's got to make the choice. And I think that it's not a no-lose situation or a no-win situation. It's somewhere in between. I don't feel great about anything. If he picked Brock Osweiler, I would get it. I would understand. Even though I think Osweiler's looked bad and has done nothing to demand that he be named the starter, I would understand that choice. If Hugh Jackson goes out there and says, I'm going to start DeShone Kizer, I would understand that choice too. I would have my reservations and I would have my concerns about it, but I would get it. And I would understand it. So that's where we are. There's no good answer, but he has to come up with an answer. We're going to find out soon what Hugh Jackson chooses. We're going to have to live with it for at least a few games. If he chooses DeShone Kizer, it's pretty much, that's almost like a decision for the season. We will see. It was a good game. Enjoyed it very much. And Browns showed a lot of good things. No, they didn't answer their quarterback question, but if you thought they were going to answer their quarterback question cutting into the game but in terms of answering the questions that they could answer and showing up the way they could on defense, really, really encouraging. See what Hugh Jackson does, what the Browns do heading into the dress rehearsal preseason game. That's it for me. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for Waiting for Next Year for all the Browns reaction. I believe even some posts about our kneeling during the national anthem. Till next time, thanks for listening. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.